Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Now, a week or so ago on the channel, we covered a puzzle by one of the most brilliant constructors working in the world today, and that's Jesper, who constructs under the pseudonym Jesper over on Logic Masters Germany. None of this totally normal cat nonsense for him. Now, this got me thinking that we should do some of Jesper's back catalogue, because we've actually been a bit remiss. A lot of his older puzzles, they require special software, but this one on screen doesn't. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will note that this is not the Sudoku, and no, it's not, but it is a mashup of two of the puzzle types that are most requested on the channel. It is a mashup of Star Battle and Pentominoes, and I'll read the rules in just a moment. It's meant to be quite tricky, this one, so you'll have to wish me luck. Before I read the rules, just do check out what we've got going on Patreon at the moment. There is the Wonders of the World Sudoku Hunt is continuing to get all of this feedback. And we're getting a few incorrect answers, though, in the last couple of days. So do make sure when you're doing the final puzzle that you extract the word correctly. Anyway, I'll say no more about that. What are the rules of Jesper's puzzle? Let's get on to this. We have got to place pentominoes in the grid and stars within some squares of those pentominoes so that all of the following conditions are met. Exactly 2 stars in each row, in each column, and in each of the 12 standard pentomino shapes. That's what we have to do. We have to put 2 stars in each of those. Okay, exactly 2 stars in each of those. Pentominoes must cover the whole grid apart from the central 4 squares, which are shaded black. Okay, what have we got here? We've got a 12... Is it square? It looks square. 12 by 12 minus 4, yeah, so 140. We've got 28. So we've got to put 28 pentominoes into the grid. 2 pentominoes of the same type may not share an edge. Stars may not be adjacent to each other, not even diagonally. Some borders between pentominoes are already given and must be respected. Okay. Note that each individual pentomino can contain 0, 1 or 2 stars, as long as the total number of stars within all pentominoes of its type is exactly 2. Right, okay, and then I've got a list to show you of the standard pentominoes. So here they are. You can see that these are all the pentominoes that you can construct using 5 orthogonally connected cells. And each of them has a name, which you become familiar with the more puzzles you do. So what our task is to fill the grid using these shapes. Now, we mustn't have the same 2 shapes connected to each other orthogonally. And remember, when you're doing pentominoes puzzles, that reflections and rotations basically are still considered the same type of shape. So if we connected, what's the simplest way of doing this? If there was a P there, and if I do a backwards P there, yeah, you can see this breaks the rules of the puzzle, because this P pentomino and this P pentomino, they may not look exactly the same. This one is a reflection of this one and a rotation of it, but these are considered the same for the purposes of the rules, so this would be illegal. This would be 2 P pentominoes connected to one another, and we must not do that. Now let's just check the rest of the rules. Stars, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to enter stars in this puzzle, but maybe I can use digits. If I make 8 a star, if this was a star, the way Star Battle works is we could not then place a star in any of those cells. So not even in a diagonally connected cell to the 8 could we have a second 8. They would have to be no stars in those positions. And we have to put 2 stars, go away, in each row, in each column, and in each type of pentomino. So although, yeah, imagine we had a P here and a P over here. Let's draw another P there. And these were the only 2 Ps in the grid. Then these Ps would have to have 2 stars in them taken as a pair. So we couldn't put 2 stars in this one. Oh, I think I've just made a mess of that. I couldn't do that. and then put more stars in over in this P pentomino. That is not going to be right. We have to make sure there's exactly 2 stars in all of the P's in the grid. Sounds complicated, doesn't it? Sounds good as well. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. My eyes are instantly drawn to that because obviously these 2 squares have to come out. We're always looking to create regions of size 5. I'm going to liberally get to use colours today. Those 3 squares have got to be connected. These squares have got to be connected. Right, these squares can't take more than 1 square below them, because if they come down here, we've now got 3 squares in this pentomino. If we join it with purple, we'd have a 6-cell pentomino, and that doesn't make any sense. And if we turn left, we've now ignored this boundary. We're saying that all these 4 are connected. Well, that would mean we've ignored the effect of this drawn-in boundary, which we're not allowed to do. So we don't know whether this takes this square, but we do know it comes up, and then therefore it must take that square as well, because it can't come there because of this boundary. It can't come to that square. Oh, that's right. Already very nice. It can't come to this square either, because if it comes to this square, look what that does to the red pentomino. The red pentomino would have to be an n pentomino, and that's connecting an n to an n, which is not allowed. So this is not in. So yes, so the green pentomino now can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, has to go there and form an F. So the purple comes out. There's a flyby going on outside, presumably celebrating the fact that we've started this puzzle. Right, I don't think, this is a slightly trickier point, but I don't think this purple can come here. Now the reason it can't come here is look what that does to this region. All 3 of those would have to be the same. They would have to come here and they would have to come here, creating a T pentomino. But now we have an enormous problem in this part of the grid, because these 2 cells, or these 3 squares, are clearly part of the same pentomino, which cannot be part of this pentomino because of the drawn-in border. So you'd have to carry on up here, and these 2 cells are isolated, and that won't work. So that's purple. That's an L. Oh, so this must be a Y. Yeah, because there's only one sort of way out of this region, so, and we can't isolate squares. We can't sort of create a V or something. This cell will be isolated, so all of those squares must be in a pentomino. Now, yeah, let's carry on. This has got to be a part of a pentomino. It can't come here, or this square is a problem. So these 3 squares are all part of the same region. I can use green safely because we can't come to this square without isolating this one. So these are part of the same pentomino. This is part of the same pentomino. We've got a touch of the nori-noris going on with the pentomino repetition. Apologies for that. This could be a U, couldn't it? That would look quite plausible. And if you look here, look up here. There's an awful lot of empty white cells with very few boundaries. So this part of the grid looks perhaps like we shouldn't be trying to fill it in at this point. Maybe I should try more down here where there's more restrictions going on. So this could be a T, it could be an N. It's a T or an N. This is F. Oh, no, that could do that. This. Right, okay, sorry. Let's have a look at the bottom of the grid. Now, is it possible for this string of yellow cells here to be two different pentominoes? Well, the answer is no. Let's look at why. If it's two different pentominoes, obviously those have to be the same and these have to be the same. So we'd have to extend like this. But now look at this one on the right. It's got nothing it can do that's helpful. It can't take this square, so it's going to have to take that one and create a U pentomino which isolates a cell. And that's against the rules. So in fact, all of these squares are the same. I'm going to make them red. And we know they're forming a Y pentomino because they're taking this square or this square. Ah, look, and that's impossible because that's a Y pentomino. And what are we going to put here now? We mustn't isolate this square. We can't take this square and create a P because of the drawn boundary. So that would be another Y pentomino. That's broken, so we can't do that. This square must be in. Right, so this, we can now look at this region and it should be fairly clear. There's only one path out of this cul-de-sac, and this cul-de-sac is not big enough to include a pentomino all on its own. So some pentominoes got to come out here, and these three will all have to be part of that pentomino because they can't be part of any other pentomino. So we get a forced P pentomino there, which looks like a D because it's been rotated. Now that must be part of the same pentomino. This sort of 2x3 region here, I'm also thinking, yeah, okay, there's only one root out of here as well. So what we've got to make sure of is that we leave behind a multiple of 5 cells with whatever crosses this boundary. And the only way of doing that, therefore, is to leave behind a P pentomino. So we're going to have to leave behind that shape in order to allow a shape to escape from there. I might use, oh yeah, I'm going to use dark grey. This square, well, the grey, I'm not sure whether it takes this square yet, but it's definitely got to take that square. Oh, hang on. Have I made a mistake here? It's very easy with Pentominoes puzzles to make mistakes, by the way, so please don't crucify me if I do. I'm not trying to, I assure you. But I'm worried because I've got a P pentomino here, and I don't want a P from this purple. Oh, maybe I can get away with it with a W if that one's in. Yeah, okay. So how do we avoid this being a P pentomino? Now, one way of thinking about this is to ask whether this is purple. If this is purple, you can see the puzzle breaks very quickly because what's the next cell we're going to take here? If we take this square, well, you can see we have to take this square because we have to get to a total of 5 squares. So we have to take this square. Now, if we don't take this square is isolated, so we have to take it. And now we've broken the puzzle. We've got a P connected to a P. So we can't take this square as part of the purple, so we have to take that one. We have to take that one. It's the only way out. Because we can't take this, the only thing this can connect to is grey. Oh, so it doesn't have to be a W. Maybe it can be an N. Okay, I'm a bit disgruntled about that. Hang on. We've got grey here. This cannot be grey because it's an F if it's grey. Look, I'll show you. And that's an F connected to an F, which is wrong. Or wroggen, as we like to say. So this must be red. Therefore, this must be red. We have got a T here. We must have a Y there. And, okay, now, does this take this square? Or does it take this square? I don't think it takes... Oh, I don't think it takes this square. And the reason is that we're going to have a big problem with this area on the right-hand side now. Because all of those squares will have to be part of the same pentomino. And whichever cell I then take to complete this pentomino is isolating a group of white cells that are not divisible by 5. If we take that one, we've got a 4 region. That one, we've got a 2 region. And we can't take any others and create a region. So in fact, this is purple. These two have to be connected. Oh, and in fact, yeah, you're going to have to take all 3 of those because you can't get enough cells if you don't include that one. So all those 3 are the same. That isolates these 2, so they also have to be part of this P. These, that one, yeah, look here. These are all forced to be part of the same pentomino. Now if we took that one, we're isolating a cell. So we get a V there. This must be the same pentomino. This must be the same pentomino, obviously. Now what do we do? I've actually been going relatively okay. It looks like I've got to be careful with isolating this cell. Let me just think about that. If this purple comes up, if the purple comes up, yeah, that's interesting. If the purple only comes up 1 square, it has to be part of a P, otherwise this square will be isolated. So it would have to do that. And now this region has to be a P, which breaks the puzzle. So if this comes up, it must continue up. It must go up again. Now if it goes up again, what is its next square? It obviously can't come and take either of these 2 squares, or this one, because this is hived off. If we took one of these 2, we're isolating a square. So the only square it can take that doesn't isolate is this one, and that's broken the puzzle as well, because that forces a V at the top, which isolates this square. Ooh, that is tricky. Okay, so I think this doesn't go up, which means it must come here, which I admit is probably not the biggest of deductions ever, so sorry. Although it must come out again, I suppose, because if it can't take this square ever, it needs to get to 5. So we don't know whether it takes this square, but we do know it gets to this point. Now, yeah, now my green one has become a bit more constrained. That's got to come out to there. Now, I'm almost wondering whether I can use this wall, because remember, I've got to make sure the white squares in any particular region of the puzzle are divisible by 5. Now, at the moment, we've got 18 white squares there. And we've got a maximum of 2 cells that we can lend to that from this square and this square, where we've only got 4 in each of these regions. Although one of those has to take this square, so we've actually only got one square that we can lend to that total of 18. So that means that something must cross the boundary. So this must be part of a pentomino, because we have to get something into this region, because it's not perfectly divisible by 5, however we do it. Now, can we rule anything in or out, therefore? This could be an F. Is there a good way of doing this? This must be part of its own region, look, because the green can't come down. So those 3 squares are the same. I'll make those blue. Is there a simple way of deducing what's going on here? Does feel to me like we know this square is not purple. Right, so maybe that's the way to do it. We'll think about this square. Now, if this square is not blue, the blue will break because it will have to get to the top row to get to a count of 5, and this square will be isolated. So this is blue. We can't isolate this square, again, same logic, so this is blue. We can't make a U pentomino, this will be isolated. So we must take this square as well. And now this, so this forces, I think, no, I was about to say something. I think it forces these 4 squares, but this square could still be a P. But whichever one of these is the final blue square, these 3 squares and this one are all part of the same region. So we can make those green. Actually, I'll make them red, just to try and keep the colours moving away from each other appropriately. Now this square is catching my eye. That cannot be red. It cannot be purple. It cannot be green. It could be grey. If it's not grey, it's quite interesting, isn't it? It forces an immediate P pentomino, because it only... Oh no, yeah, because it could never come to this square. Oh no, maybe it doesn't actually. Oh, this is getting complicated. It could be a W, I think. Oh. Or it could just be grey. So it feels like there's struggling a bit to see how to efficiently divide this stuff up. Right, this square now, what can that be part of? That has to be grey. Because if it's not grey, look, it can't be red, it would have a too high a count, and it can never take this square because it's divided from itself. So that's got to be grey. Now you can't get to this square from grey, so this is a different colour. This is a new colour, and I will make that new colour, oh bobbins, I'll make it orange. Will I see the orange? No, I don't want to make it orange. I'll make it yellow. I'll make it yellow. So yellow now has to take this square as an absolute minimum, which has hemmed in my red. So red goes there, blue goes there. Ooh, blue is now a P pentomino coming to this square. So these two can't both be yellow, or that would connect to P pentomino. So that must be in. And now we've either got an F here, or we've got a W. But this is so clever. It's ridiculously clever. If this is an F, look what happens. This square's been isolated, so it would have to be part of this make this an L pentomino. This square is isolated and has to be an F, and this F is connected to this F, which is wrong. So we don't do that, which means this is a W. This square is isolated and must be grey. Now the purple needs an extra cell. That's become an L. This must be a V. There's only one cell that the grey can take because it can't come to this square, so that's in. This square is isolated unless it's blue. This is a Y, so it can't. This blue can't take this square, or it is also a Y, so that must be a T. These squares now, in fact, all of those three have to be the same shape, and I'll make those purple. This can't become isolated, so all of those three are the same shape. And it's just brilliant, isn't it? What I like about this is that the logic is very clever, but it's also very fun to solve. This can't be purple. If that's purple, Oh no, it could be. That could be an eye. Oh, bobbins. Oh no, it can't be an eye. Oh right, no. So it was the right conclusion for the wrong logic, which I can now expand to become the right logic. Let me explain. If this is purple, we now have to avoid the green being an L. So the only shape that we could make this green into that's not an L is an eye, like this. Actually, that's a good point. I've not actually put any eyes in the grid yet. But anyway, now this square, this can't take this square because it's divided from it by the black line. So this is not right, which means this square is not purple, which means we get a Z there. I'm not actually sure. That might be our first Z. But I've just had the thought, I need to put in an I, and I need to put in an X actually. And I've not got either of those yet. Very difficult shapes. So we need to keep an eye out for where we're going to be able to do that. Now, could this be... No, this can't be the eye. Because if that's an eye, again, this shape becomes broken. In fact, that's interesting, isn't it? The only way that you can construct something that works in this top corner is with an N here connected to a U. Because if this becomes part of the green, you then have to create that shape, and that shape requires these two to not be in the same, well, to simultaneously not be in the same region and be in the same region, which is wrong. So that must be green. We must have an U pentomino coming round the corner. Now, I am tempted now to look at the positions for either X's or I pentominoes. You see that I really can't, well, the I could go in column 1. The blue can't be converted into an I because it would isolate those 3 squares. The I, can it go? The I can't go here because that isolates a number that's not divisible by 5, even counting an extra 2 from these 3 here. That's going to leave a count of 4 in those squares, which is not going to work. Oh, I could go horizontally as well, so I could go here. That's leaving behind it. No, that's leaving behind 13 squares above it. Look at that. If this is the I, these, how many cells have we got? White cells there? 13. And all of these pentominoes are complete, so that would imply that we can construct a perfect set of, 5-length pentominoes into something of length 13. That doesn't work. Now, if this isn't in, if we simply shift it downwards, that's the same question again. We've just added a multiple of 5 on to our 12 count, and that still won't work. So I is not horizontal. And if I is not horizontal, the only place it can go is column 1. And if it goes in column 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's got to take the central 2 cells. So those 2 cells are definitely I. And that hasn't done us any favours in terms of positioning the X pentomino. No, it can't go there, look, because that's going to isolate this square, which means it can't go, its spine cannot be anywhere in column 2. So can its spine go in, can't go there. Oh, okay. So it can go here, it can go here, and it can go there. So it's got 3 potential positions there, and it's got 1 potential position in column 4, and that looks rather likely, doesn't it? Because that would allow us this domino to turn blue, and it sort of nests into it quite attractively. So can we rule that out somehow? 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we can actually. Look at that. If this is the X pentomino, now we're forced to have an F pentomino above it. and we have 4 squares left here. Now it doesn't matter how we extend this I pentomino, we haven't got a shape we can make here. So this is not the X. This is not the X, very obviously, because this square is isolated and can't meet up with any friends. And yeah, no, this one can't be X either, because this square cannot be part of what we know to be an I pentomino. So this would be an isolated square. So now we know that square, I think, is the X. And I will make that. It can never touch the I because the I is over here. So we can make this grey. This must be blue to finish that region. Well, this must. No, I've not completed this region either. So it looks like, yeah, I've got to be careful here. This and this are part of the same. These 3 must be part of the same pentomino because no other pentomino can reach them. Now, once we get here, we know that this square is not green. It can't be part of the I, so that must also be purple, which forces a P pentomino, forces a U pentomino, forces the I pentomino. How many squares have I got left? I have got 10 squares left. This is a good sign. Still not even thought once about star battle. Now, how does this fit together then? Those are obviously part of the same pentomino. Got to be quite careful not to sort of construct something like that, which crosses the boundary here. So this can't be a Z. It can't isolate cells. So doesn't it always have to take this square? Or is that not correct? Oh, I see. It could be an F and a W. I'm not actually sure I can see anything else it could be. If it doesn't take this square, no, that just breaks, obviously. That it does take this square. That isolates this square, and then we have a choice. I see. We have a choice between a Y, which isn't touching another Y, and but the P here would touch this P, so that's why that doesn't work. So it is an F attached to a W. We can make that one red, and there we've done the first bit of the puzzle. It's taken a long time, but we have done it, and it was super, it really was. And now we've got to do the star battle. So we've got to put 2 stars in each row, column, and set of the same shaped pentominoes. So probably I'm going to do this with numbers. Let's start with the I then, I suppose. We know there's only one I in the grid. It must have 2 stars in it. So the 2 stars in column 1 are in the I. So there's nothing in the rest of the column. So I've got to pick a number. Maybe I'll make the stars, I think I can use 0. Yeah, I can. I'll make the stars, we'll do binary. So we're going to have 1s are not stars, 0s are stars. So these 2 squares are 1s, because if you put a star here, you'd eliminate 3 cells from the I, and you couldn't put 2 stars into a domino because the stars would touch each other. Now what? Have we got? So what shapes have we got where we've only got one of them? We've got I, we've got X, we've got, oh no, we've got 2 T's, look. 2 T's, 2 V's, W's, I think I've seen a few W's, 3 W's, with Z. Have I only got 1 Z? Now this would be a disaster as well if I miscount how many of these I've got. I can't see another Z. If there's no other Z, this Z is important because we could never have a star in its central position because then we could only put 1 star in Z's. So there must be a star in this domino. I'm going to have to find a way of notating that actually. I'll use 7s. 7s or 8s? sevens. So there must be a star in this domino, there must be a star in this domino, which means there's no star in those, there's no star in these, because if you were to put a star here, it would eliminate both of those squares from being possible stars. Right, okay, and now I can see something with the X. Because again, with the X, you could never put a star in the central position. And you can see that however you orientate the stars around the sort of north, south, east and west positions of the X pentomino, they always lie opposite one another. Because if you put one here, it's ruling out those two squares because of the diagonal constraint. Which means in this column, if we were to do that, we would have 3 stars in the column, which is wrong. So we must do this. We can put the ones here, we can put ones here and here. Now I've got 2 stars in this row. So that's a 1, that's a 1. All of these become 1s. And oh, so now we know I've got 1 star in this domino, so there's no star here. 1 star in this domino, there's no star here. My cable's getting in the way. Move cable. Now what have we done? I've got 2 U pentominoes. Now this square can't be a star. Because look what that does to this column if it is. If this is a star, I couldn't put a star in those 3 squares. So I would have to put 2 stars in this U pentomino, and I would end up with that, which breaks column 2. You can't put 3 stars in a column, so it's a modest deduction, but it gets us a 1 here. Okay. Now what do we do? I don't know. We've got... Let me look at this. So which shapes are not constrained? I think I've got a bucket load of Y pentominoes. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5, at least 5 I've just spotted quickly there. There could be more. P's, I felt like I put in a lot of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe. Oh, good grief. So there's a load of P's as well. So P's and Y's are not where we should be looking. L's, I've got 1, 2. So L's are better if there are only 2, although these... What I would prefer is if these sort of lined up either in the rows or the columns. I've got 2 V's that are close together. 2 T's. N. 1 N. Have I got 1 N? No, there's another N. Ah, I've got 2 N's then. So actually, if you look at the first few columns of the grid, I have got some shapes that are wholly locked into the first few columns. U is definitely in column 1, 2 and 3. I is in column 1, 2 and 3. Oh, X I need to go out as far as 5. Let's look at the first 5 columns. Yes, let's look at the first 5 columns because the N's are still in the first 5 columns. So we've got an I, U, X, N, oh, Z. Z nearly. Bother. This Z, this being a star in the 6th column is very annoying. Oh, that is very annoying because I can't be sure. I was just looking at the F's. The F's are also quite close to being in the first 5 columns, but it is possible to put 2 stars in the F region, not in columns 1 to 5. T's are also, you know, everything, there are certain letters that are very much on the left side of this puzzle, and that's probably what we need to figure out. Maybe if I extend it, maybe if I look at columns 1 to 6 rather than 1 to 5. So in columns 1 to 6 we need to put 12 stars. So I need there to be 6 shapes that are forced to put their stars in columns 1 to 6. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I felt I'd done better than that last time. Oh, N, 5. Now, it would be fine if both stars in the Fs had to have their stars in columns 1 to 6, which they very nearly do, then we would have that relationship. Alright, well, it's not quite perfect, but there is another thing we can do. If the Fs do not have both of their stars in columns 1 to 6, this would be a star. But look what that does to the T. If that's a star, you can't put a star in this T. And this T would need to contain 2 stars. And therefore, it would have to have a star in column 1 to 6. So, this is nice. It means that I don't quite know what goes where, but I do know that in the first 6 columns, the stars are confined to a set of shapes that includes the Fs and the Ts, unfortunately. But it definitely doesn't include a W. You cannot put a star in a W, otherwise you'll have too many. You can't have a star in the Y, so that can't be a star. The N you can, the P you can't. The Y down here you can't. The part of this L that's overlapping, you can't. Oh, bobbins, is that all we get from that? Sorry, it might be. We might have to take stock there and think again. Not sure. I suppose this V, that square, I don't think can be a star. That is in columns 1 to 6. We can... I know what Mark would do at this point, but I'm not doing that. These puzzles are very easy to bifurcate normally. Once you get a little bit of a hold on them, like we've got here, you know, you could almost guess at the arrangement in the T's and probably force the puzzle. Now, let me just take a think about this for a second. There's a small deduction I can see with the U's. If this U contains both of the stars in the U regions, you can't now put a star in the bottom of this this column because this is in the U region, which already has its stars. But these stars eliminate the stars from those squares as well. So in this column now, we'd only have 1 star, which is wrong. So that means that in the U regions, one of these 3 squares must be a star. So there's alright, okay, I can see again now that there's a small sort of thing we can look at with columns 2 and 3, because in any 2x2 region, you can put a maximum of 1 star. So you can see there's got to now be a star here. There's got to be a star here. That's 2 stars. There's a star here, 3, and a star here, 4. So I don't really have a good way of notating this, because I don't want to use 7s across a boundary. But there does have to be a star there. There does have to be a star here. Yeah, okay, and there has to be a star in one of the positions of the U here, so this can't be a star. So now I'm wondering about this square, because that's going to put pressure on the N. Nearly. Because if this is a star, in the N region, you'd have to have 2 stars in this shape. Is there a problem with that? If this is a star, you'd have to have a star here and a star here. Ooh, right, okay, we can back into a deduction here using the top of the T. If the top of the T is a star, you get a star here, and that breaks this column, because we'd have a star in the top of the T, we've got a star we've already got, and because you're forcing no star in this N, because a star here, let me just show it longhand, if this is a 0, in this domino, this square is going to have to be the 0, which locks a star out of the N, which means this N has 2 stars in it. The only way of doing that is to put a star here, because you can't put 3 stars in this column, but that creates 3 stars in this column instead, which is wrong. So this square is not a star. Okay, that is really pathetic deduction, actually. Okay. Bobbins. Sorry. Is there anything else we can do with that? I don't think it's good enough to just say, can this be a star? I don't think we quite get the same effect. Not sure. Maybe I should think about the Fs. If this is a star, does that do anything to the T's now? Oh, it breaks. Yes, okay. That breaks for a different reason. If this is a star, in the T now, in the T shapes, you'd have to put 2 stars into those squares. But look what that does to the V shapes. Now, I can't put a star in there, but that means I could only ever put 1 star in all of the V shapes. So that's nonsense. So this is not a star. Now, doesn't that mean in the first 6 columns I've got my stars without using T's? I think it does. I'm sort of going back to the logic we did right at the start. I've now got I, U, N, X, Z, and F all having their stars in the first 6 columns. That is enough. So everything else has not got a star. In particular, there is no star in either of those 2 squares of the T. And that means in order to get 2 stars in the T's, this must be a star, which means those aren't stars. There must be a star in one of those positions. Oh no, I haven't broken it. I thought I'd broken it. I haven't broken it. I was just noticing the star here rules a star out of the V, but I haven't got 2 stars in the T now. So I can afford one of the stars. So in the V regions, I need to put 2 stars in those 4 squares. So there's got to be a star here. And there can't be another star in this row now, so there's got to be a star here. And that is lovely because that gets me a lot of white, or a lot of ones in the grid all of a sudden. This square now would be a third star in that row, so that becomes the star. So my T's are basically done. My V's are basically done. My L's have become a problem because look, this L and this L, I've got to put 2 stars in them. So that's got to be a star. And there must be a star in that domino, so there's no star here. Now this Y has to have a star in it to create a second star in row 12. So one of those squares is a star. I've just noticed it's not in this column because I've got 2 stars in this column now. All of those turn to stars, to ones. This can't be a star now because it would eliminate a star from all of the Y. So I've got my 2 stars here. Oh. Okay, look at this column. Look at column 6. I've got 1 star here, so I need a second star. It's going to have to be in one of those 3 squares. Right, and if this square was a star, it would rule a star out from this N altogether. And then I couldn't put 2 stars up there, so that's not a star. Now where does the second star go in this column? It's got to go here, I think. This is where it gets a bit terrifying, because if you make a logical error, there is no way you're going to get it. You're going to be able to unwind it. All of these become ones. We've got a domino 1 there, so that becomes a 1. Oh, nearly. If we look along this row, you can see there's going to have to be a star in one of these 2 positions. So this can't be a star. So now the star in this U region is in one of those 2 squares, which is a bit strange. And okay, now we pause and take breath again. Hang on, let me think. Let me think. What do we do here? Oh, I've only got 1 stars in F now, so I must have a star in here. So they can be turned into 7s. Therefore, this is not a star. Therefore, this is a star. We know we needed 1 star in this U. Therefore, this is not a star. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Good grief. Right. Okay. So the final piece of column 4 is from an N, one of those 2 positions. I'm not exactly sure what I'm meant to do here. I'm probably missing something really obvious, and apologies if that's the case. Still got a lot of empty cells in the P's. W's? W, I've managed to eliminate stars from here. Oh, not here. Not there. Y's? I've got a star and a Y down there. Ah, okay. I've got a star and a Y down here. So this square can't be a star. Because if that square is a star, that's the second star in Y. This would remove a star from those. You can't put a star in Y, so those are not stars, and there's no stars at all in this column. So that's a 1. In fact, does that logic just keep giving? This is the same logic, isn't it? If I put a star here, yeah, if I put a star here, yeah, it's the same. Actually, think for both of these squares. If this is a star, I've now got 2 stars in Y. I can't put a star here. I can't put a star there. I could only put 1 star in the column. So both of those are not stars. That, yes. Now, row 3. Where do I put my 2 stars? I've got a domino here I can put 1 star into, so that's not a star. And I've got this square which can be the other star, so that's a star. That's not a star. Oh, come on. Is that all I get from that? Oh, no, it's not. Look, this 0 sees that. So this is a star. That disambiguates the bottom of the grid. Look, that puts a star here. That means this one is not a star. That fixes this column. Look, that was the ambiguity we had in the N pentomino, which now needs a second star here. That completes row 1 star quota. That means this should be a star. Oh, I've now filled in a load more of Y's. Right, yes, look at this column now. I need to put 2 stars into it. I can't put 2 stars in the Y region because this Y region already has a star in it. So this is a star, which fills in all of those cells. There must be a star in one of these 3 positions. That means this can't be a star because it would rule out a star from all of those positions. This can't be a star for the same reason. It must be nearly finished now. As there's a star in one of those squares, there is no star here. W has got 1 star in it. It needs 1 more. This row needs a second star. Therefore, it's got to be there. That's in a P. I've still got loads of stuff going on with P's at the bottom. Okay. So, how do we get this finished? Yeah, there's a problem I can see with this being a star. Because if that's a star, I've got to put another star in W. And it would have to be here. And that would give 3 stars in this column. So that's not a star. And I'm worried about P's now. I've got 1 star here. No stars there. It would be so easy to make an error here. No stars here. No stars there. I think this has to be a star. But I'm a bit terrified about putting it in. Just do it slowly, Simon. Let's... 1 star here. I'm not seeing a second star in a P. I think it has to go there. And that looks like it's going to be enormously powerful because now I've got 2 stars in this column. So this is a star. These 2 can't be stars, which places a star here. I've now got 2 stars in this row. Imagine if this goes wrong now. I will cry, literally. That's not a star. I need a second star in this row. That looks like a W, therefore. That's the last one of the W. And there, oh no, I've almost forgot these 7s. I've got 2 stars in this column. So this becomes a star. And that does look good. That does look good. I think this is the answer. Let's double check. We've got 2 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars, nori nori, 2 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars, 2 stars. So it looks good in the rows. In the columns, it looks It looks okay so far. There's no way of getting our automatic checker, I'm afraid, to check this. So this is very manual. That looks okay. I'm not going to check all the shapes again because I think that's the logic I've just been doing for the last hour. But I think that that is the final answer. And what a brilliant puzzle again from Jesper. It's just stunning. And actually, while I think about it, let's just think about how on earth would you go about setting this? How on earth? You'd have to come up with a grid that worked and then somehow remove or enter in these black bars such that it was logically deducible. That does not sound a pleasant thing to have to do, I have to say. Incredible. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, of course, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.